I didn't get that.
You didn't get this?
No, because I had it up.
Oh, you get the electronic.
Yeah.
But here, you didn't get one? Over there? No detail. Just that sheet.
Trimming bushes. It's warm.
And then our neighbor had problems with his, yeah, they were out there. He got it started.
Lights off, all day.
Typically, they do one side.
Brand new.
It's brand new. It's 13 hours on it. That's super new. Yeah, so I got it. Start. It's an electric sound. So they're stuck. Clean it up a little bit. Working. $1 million. So I gotta do that.
Testing, testing. A little bit of echo. How about that? Is it because I'm too close? No, because I'm too close to there. Testing. Testing, testing. Check. Mic check. Testing. Mic check. That was. Number two. Number two.
Test 1, 2.
That's quiet.
They worked before. Hey, Mike, nobody's microphone is working. Yeah, the system's on. And we're not getting any sound.
Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Hello.
What did you touch, Karen?
They were working 2 minutes ago.
You're gonna have to sign the meeting while you talk, Carl.
Yes.
Closed caption.
Yeah.
You talk extra loud.
Yep. Yep. Nope. They were just working a couple minutes ago too. And I turned the sound down on the TV because Carl was getting an echo. Carl, talking to my.
Testing, testing.
You can hear it when I turn the volume of the TV up.
It's just echoing.
Right. Do you guys echo?
Testing, testing, yeah.
You know what, we gotta start the meeting, and we can hear him, but there's gonna be an echo.
In case you missed it the first time.
If you want, but we gotta start, right? You're gonna hear a little bit of an echo, but at least you can hear her.
Okay, we'll call the Vernon Town Board of Supervisors meeting agenda, or meeting as of July 9th, 2019 to order. For the Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence.
Thank you, everyone. Sitting down there, waiting.
Roll call and open meetings compliance check.
Chairman Carl Fortner,
Present.
Supervisor Jeff Millies,
Present.
Supervisor Gary Wildy.
Present.
Supervisor Ed Moline. Supervisor Lorene Dashick. Mr. Chairman, note for the record that you do have a quorum of your town board. DPW Director John Henneberry is here. Mr. Chairman, the agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Town Hall to the media, to businesses within the town of Vernon, and on the town of Vernon's website. You're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Thank you. Public comments. Are there any public comments? Mr. Wagner.
Obviously, this is none, so.
It's on.
What's
We can
on
hear
now?
you. Yeah.
Can you hear it? As a town resident, I became very disturbed at the comments about the armed forces, doctors, nurses, and law enforcement, which were so negatively expressed at the last town board meeting. How anyone could stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance and then proceed to degrade all that this country has been founded upon puzzles me. Sounds kind of un-American to most. Obviously, a person has to judge others by their history and expressed deeds, not just for political effect. The real reason that this chilling opinion was allowed to be presented. Would it not have been better to simply state that military experience should not be your deciding factor in local elections? Actually, this should have been accomplished in one's own mind, individually, not in an open forum. That would have sufficed and would not have raised the ire of the military, doctors, nurses, law enforcement, and of course myself. I guess ridicule of the American way is an accepted element of local politics, not the actual truth. The pledge that you recite is a belief in the United States as established, not to be derided by the opinion of any or all ignorant individuals. I wish to thank God for military veterans, law enforcement, doctors, nurses, and fire rescue services for their dedication to the ideals of the Republic of the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Keith Grams, Sonoma Way, Big Bend, Wisconsin. First of all, let me say my comments are in no way intended to infringe on the rights of free speech and public comments for anyone. I feel must respond to the people I know who lost their lives and are still living to protect these rights. After listening to the public comments on June 20th, 2019 Town Hall meeting, I was never so disgusted by the unfounded and irresponsible attacks directed towards our veterans and public service citizens. My father, father-in-law, brother, brother-in-law, uncles, and many close friends are veterans. Never did accuse them of being, and I quote, drunks, wife beaters, and tax evaders. They never thought of being above the law or exempt from any law or civil liability. They are veterans 24/7, 365, not just on Memorial Day or Veterans Day. They do not ask for special privileges, but many corporations and private businesses offer to them out of gratitude and respect for their service. It did not stop there. Police, doctors, and nurses were also accused of disappropriate conduct. After spending almost 3 years in Children's Hospital dealing with my grandson's leukemia, I can attest with extreme gratitude to the skill and dedication of the doctors and nurses who saved his life. I have immediate family members in law enforcement that do a dangerous and thankless job and do not deserve to be second-guessed and criticized by anyone. I recently visited a moving Vietnam wall. 2 of my friends' names are on it. These are young men, not boys. They were both 19. They are forever veterans because within 2 months, they were both killed in combat. Never to come home, never to hear that their sacrifice will never be mentioned at a town hall meeting. I saw everyone in this room stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I also see a Veterans Memorial outside the front door. If veterans and their service records have no place at the town hall, then tell me what is the purpose of this memorial. I see an elected town official laugh and approve the public comment like that shows their true character and the character of the people who support them. I am not sure what the reference to General Custer pertained to, but taken with the rest of the content, it was pathetic. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments? Yes, sir. Mr. Pepper, I believe.
I could not attend the last town board meeting, and after hearing of what went on, I'm glad I didn't, because I, for one, don't have patience for people that disrespect veterans and disrespect people that laid down their life for our country and for the people in it. And my reaction is usually similar to the reaction I had when I was walking through Mitchell Airport on my way home after serving overseas. And when protesters attempted to get in my face, I told them to get out of my way or they'd get hurt. I gave them the information so they could make a informed decision. And they simply got out of my way. I don't have patience for that. And like most military people, I'm willing to fight for it. That aside, I know my name came up in our last meeting. I asked about our border agreement and what the end game was in the town and how we were going to resolve being absorbed in other communities, which can happen. Okay, it's in the state laws. Mr. Chairman Fortner, you mentioned that I had talked to you previous to that, and I did. I called you up and you called me back, and we talked about it. And we talked about a lot of things and a lot of scenarios, but the town doesn't have any leverage. So I asked what the end game was. What are we going to do about it? What's the plan? People do things for a reason. Everything has a reason. Everybody has a reason they do something. Whatever they do, they have a reason for it. And I keep on getting no answers. And the more we go with no answers and no concrete idea of what we're doing, either somebody has a plan and they're not saying something, so I look at it as somebody lying to me, or they don't have a plan and they don't know what the heck they're doing. So I want to know what it is. Simple as I'm just a town resident that wants to know what's going on and what the plan is. And I can't endorse something or I can't be against something if I don't know what the heck it is. And so far, we haven't heard what is the plan going forward. So that question is still out there. I still want an answer for it. And lastly, a month ago, John mentioned and this group mentioned that you were going to eliminate the fall brush pickup and make it a a drop-off. I did see a notice in Citizens Bank about that. You asked at the time that possibly you might need volunteers to staff it. And if you do, I will help you. So I think it's a good idea, and if nobody helps, maybe it doesn't happen. So I'd be willing to do a part. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Further public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Tamara Spohn. I'm Plum Creek Boulevard, Muskego, Wisconsin. My prepared statement is in response to previous public comments at the June 20th meeting regarding veterans and their character. Today, because we are increasingly sharing every part of our lives with the world around us on social media, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, books we are reading, charities we have given to, even hardships that we are going through. The concept of reputation seems to have become almost all-encompassing. As a result, people are beginning to confuse one of the central pillars of the American way, character, with reputation. I know that I often find myself confusing the two sentiments. Then I am quickly reminded, however, of what Thomas Paine once wrote. Reputation is what men and women think of us. Character is what God and angels know of us. Consider this. I once sat down with a teacher friend of mine, and we got to talking about how he tries to teach character to his students, whether that's even possible. He laughed and said, I tell my students that while we are on our school grounds, not to cut corners where the sidewalks meet. It's that simple. I must have looked confused because he quickly added, I can never be certain which students in particular have listened, but I sure as hell can tell that some students haven't at all because every year the beautifully kept green grass where the sidewalks meet quickly browns. The kids without character are those who are cutting corners, the students who don't stop to think about the groundkeepers who work so hard to keep our school grounds pristine. He told me that the students who do have character are those who are not looking for any public gratification. They will never be known. They do what they know is right, especially when no one is looking. His explanation has always stuck with me. If there is one class of citizens in the United States that I know has true character, the type that I've been talking about so far, the type our country was founded on, it is our veterans. I don't mean to say that every veteran is an angel among us. As James Madison once wrote, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. Find me a man or woman who has never done wrong, and I will call you a liar. Most saints had dark chapters in their lives. I am certain you could find veterans if you went looking, both men and women, who have checkered pasts, who have committed crimes, who have developed shady reputations. But just because someone's reputation may have soured during the course of their lives does not mean that they lack character, full stop. This is because character is found in the very fabric of the soul. It remains a single strand strewn throughout the final product, becoming embedded when an individual does what is right when no one is looking. I encourage you to try to take the position that the men who lost their lives fighting for the freedoms at Gettysburg lacked character, especially those who knew that their names would be forgotten through the steady course of history. I encourage you to try to take the position that the men who lost their lives fighting for the freedoms at Normandy lacked character, especially those who knew that their names would be forgotten through the steady course of history. Let the same be said for the men who lost their lives in Korea, Vietnam, or Iraq. It would be a fool's errand. Does the act of signing up to give up your life, your own life for the lives of others, of serving your country in faraway lands, simply become irrelevant once that sacred watch has ended? I think not, because those men and women who serve never ask for public gratification. They serve because they know it is an honorable thing to do. Most of them know when they sign up that they will never be recognized for their choice. That is why serving shows character. It is something you can point to an individual's life and know that there is good somewhere in their soul, regardless of their reputation. It is an act that cannot be erased, a strand that becomes permanent in their patchwork souls. I will end with this thought. In Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5, the Bible states, "We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame." Those who sign up to serve sign up knowing they will likely suffer. That suffering produces endurance, though, which produces character, which allows each American to have hope. We reap the benefits without knowing the names of all those who have served. They are those men and women who do not cut the corners. They have character because of their self-sacrifice, and they will always keep the grass green no matter who is watching. Thank you. And I ask that my comments be entered into the record.
Thank you. Further public comments? Mr. Craig?
Bill Craig, West 232, South 8545, Chateau Lane. I think a lot of good things have been said this evening from what I could hear. I was not at the meeting where this individual fired out these comments. I did go on YouTube and listen to it at least 5 times over. Each time is unbelievable as the time before. One of the things that stuck with me, this individual said something to the effect that, hey, these people are no better than the rest of us. No one ever claimed they were. They're human beings, they make mistakes, but we got to keep in focus what they did. Some of them left their families, went to war. Some of them went to war, came back, psychologically destroyed. I had a distant relative came back from Vietnam as a medic. Every time a plane went overhead, he crawled under the table. That's what happens to these people. Do we owe them an additional amount of respect? We sure do. They're the ones who allow us to get up and say the Pledge of Allegiance and the freedom to have meetings like we're having as a town, to say what's on our mind, and to come off and say, hey, these people are crooked, they're bank robbers, police officer thinks he's above the law, he can rob a bank, do things without punishment. That is so incredibly ridiculous. It's unbelievable that an adult would get up here and say these things. But I think enough has been said by others before me. There's one other issue I want to make a point here. Several people approached me in the last week regarding the recall petition. And in both cases, they really didn't have a clue why this recall was being done. And they wanted more information. I said, well, I did a little research, and let me tell you what I found out. One of the pushy petitioners out there, who is on a friendly term with 2 of our new electees on the board, I might mention, turns out he was a big campaigner for petitioning to recall Scott Walker. How many of you know that? How many of your friends know that? How many of our taxpayers know that we've got a lefty working in the middle of the town trying to destroy honorable people? This guy's out on the street, and I've seen campaign literature of his about 10 years ago. He is a lefty's lefty, right out of D.C. That upsets me, and I'm going to make sure every town of Vernon resident I meet is going to know that. That's what we've sent out to sign a petition, which is a bunch of BS by a guy who spent a lot of hours trying to recall Scott Walker. So I'm going to spread the word, and I hope a lot of others will. By the way, I do have the evidence. I got a copy of part of the petition. I got the name right on there, address, the whole works.
Thank you. Further public comments? Okay, no further public comments. Announcement of a possible closed session. Agenda item number 6. Motion to go into closed session, consideration and possible action on a motion to convene into executive session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 1E. Deliberating of negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, more specifically, negotiations for a border agreement with the town of Waukesha, Village of Big Bend, cities of Muskego and New Berlin, and contracted services with the Village of Big Bend. Included in the closed session will be the Vernon Town Board of Supervisors, DPW Director, and Town Clerk Treasurer. Now we'll move to, all right, we need a number 7, but that's fine on the agenda. So we'll move to number 7. What should be number 7? First off is 7A bartenders licenses. And we have a new license for Tyler Michaels. There's questions.
Gonna be able to bartend?
Not for a while.
Board members, I just wanted to state that Tyler has all his information filled out. He's met all the requirements, paid all the fees. But anytime there's any additional information, we always ask the petitioner to come in, just in case board members have any questions of the petitioner for the operator's license. And if there are no questions, then I'll turn it over, Mr. Chairman.
Well, no further issues since 2014, I assume.
No, sir.
And you learned your lesson, working in the bar is not gonna contribute to having another problem,
No, sir.
and hopefully prevent anybody else from having the same problem going home.
Always look out for that. I help a lot there. I'm pretty much the maintenance guy there.
Any further questions from the board? Do we have a motion to approve the bartender license for Mr. Tyler Michaels?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous voice vote.
Tyler, if you want to stop in tomorrow, your license will be all ready for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right? Thank you.
Are you announcing the next one, or should I? Okay, the next one up is a new license for Alexa Reska.
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to state for the record that all 3 of the next applicants have all their information in. They've met all the state requirements, they've paid all their fees, everything's ready for the approval, and the last applicant, is her name Nicole? She has been before the board previously. 3 of you members probably remember her. So I didn't ask her to come in because she's already done her due diligence, and you can see that she's got everything's nice and clean.
Okay, Ms. Reska has no reported record.
I'll make a motion to approve Alexa Rezga along with Gina I can't even say her last name. Oleski and Nicole Nushel.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Voice vote. Sorry about that. Spring brush pickup invoices, payments, and possible refunds.
Mr. Chairman, did you want John to explain how we did brush pickup?
Sure.
What we did was, basically went around town, same as we always did, and just wrote down the addresses as we picked them up. There was a few discrepancies where you get to a spot where there'd be multiple address signs on the same driveway or whatnot, or, so we just, or on the border of 2 properties. There was a couple that we basically assumed it was one and it was possibly the other. We did the best that we could to just decide where it came from. And there was some multiple smaller piles that, you know, some of them we weren't sure if they were out for the brush pickup or not. So some cases we picked them up, some cases we didn't, you know, so basically it was kind of a judgment call on the fly. And I think there was a few problems with, we put the wrong address down when it should have been the neighbors or whatnot, so. And I know we had a few calls on that, obviously, that it wasn't mine, it was the neighbors or what, so. I mean, it was kind of first time through this, it was just kind of a trial and error thing.
On those, and I know I took 3 of those calls, and Karen compiled, or her staff compiled a spreadsheet, which everybody got in their packet. And, you know, the 3 calls that I took are on the spreadsheet. I hope everybody, if they took a call, you know, communicated with Karen.
I have one, and I probably messed up the spelling of the name, but Jeannie Vernon. She said she paid and got a copy of the yellow label. I didn't see her name on this, but I have her phone number. Wasn't sure I was spelling her name.
Well, we'll get it after the meeting.
I'm sorry?
We'll get it after the meeting.
Yeah.
No problem.
I also have one that called late. That's not on the list. I'll give you the name after the meeting too, Karen.
Mr. Chairman, also, I just wanted to say too, what we did is, you know, work with the DPW department to try to delineate how we should, you know, charge for some of these invoices. And just so the board members know, I think there are 25 payments that we're holding because we weren't really sure, you know, what your opinion was, if you felt there was too many mistakes, if you wanted to retract that. I just wanted to let you know that there are 24 checks that are sitting in the office not being deposited because I wasn't really sure what the board was going to do.
How many invoices were sent out? And then how many were prepaid? Do you know?
The list of the invoices is
Yeah, there it
right
is.
there. And prepaid, there probably were 15 prepaid.
Okay. Okay. We have a interim mic check here. Is it good? Better?
Can you hear 'em?
Better? Yeah, I don't hear an echo.
Yeah.
Testing, testing.
Sounds good.
So, like I said, the list the handwritten list is the list that the gentleman in the DPW department compiled when they did the pickup, and as John delineated that, we build it out the best that we could based on the information that we knew, and just wanted to know what we can do, whatever the town board chooses us to do. Obviously, in the fall, we won't have this issue, but whatever you decide to do, if you want us to delete the invoices, if you want us to refund, whatever you want us to do, I just wanted to let you know that we're fully capable to handle this in any way you choose when you start your discussion.
Did you do any investigation? For example, there's 5 on the list here that say prepaid, but they still received the bill. I mean, was that verified that they, in fact, did
Yes,
prepay?
that has been.
Okay. And then, I'm not sure, the ones I took were people saying, well, it was my neighbor's brush. You know, sometimes they left the address of the neighbor, sometimes they didn't. But, I mean, I don't know how much checking that, I mean, and
There
it
was-
could be, no, it's your brush, no, it's your brush, but,
Well, right, but I mean, the ones that I was aware of, that I was told about, I thought we kind of corrected it. We went out, I physically, when I was out there with them, there was a few that I remember exactly, you know, okay, yeah, he's probably right, it was the other guys or whatnot. So I thought we resolved pretty much, they were all pretty simple fixes, you know, except for the ones that were paid for or whatever, and
but they still got an invoice. Or you're saying you did that as you went? along.
Well, there was a couple, like the one guy would say, okay, it was the neighbor. So basically, yeah, we had to eliminate, you couldn't eliminate that invoice without being
Okay,
paid.
okay,
We didn't know the
But-
neighbor paid for the other, it's on the other person's property.
Right.
Yeah.
One guy paid.
okay, okay.
But we've resolved them as far as, yes, I think he was right. Probably was the other guy, so, you know, everything, all in all, I think we kind of, they were all correct. It's what they're claiming or whatever, so.
Oh, okay, so you're, well, okay, I was just looking for verification that the property owner who's complaining has a legitimate
Yes.
complaint. That's what that's what I was asking.
We did get the ones that said they didn't ask for the pickup. They had it out there, but they didn't ask for the pickup.
Yeah, those are the ones I think we need to resolve. Yeah, you guys will have to decide what you want to do with those.
Or didn't know about it, had no idea. that-
Yeah, I mean, some people just put a brush pile out in the front and technically they didn't want us to pick it up. And we picked it up and we sent them an invoice. So, you know, anything that was out in the ditch, we picked up pretty much. So, I mean, we weren't discriminating, you know, trying not to discriminate. If it was there, we picked it up, whether they wanted it or not. And some people didn't want that service.
Supervisor Moline.
I think the only fair solution is we refund the money to those that paid for it and figure out what we're gonna do next time. We've gotta put a different type of notice out. Do this again.
Is your mic on?
Does it work? I thought it wasn't working. Hi, Mike. I'm sorry. I think the only fair thing to do here is to refund the money for everybody. I know nobody likes to hear that, but I think we have to refund it. And if we're gonna do this again in the spring, we need to do it a little differently. I'm not sure the best solution to that, but I would assume some type of flyer that's going to individual homes. I don't know how else you're gonna deal with this, because you put it in a newsletter, they claim they didn't see it, claim they didn't get the newsletter. I mean, it's not worth debating. So my suggestion would be pay them back and let's work on this and figure out what we're doing next spring.
So that's refund to everyone, and then cancel all the invoices that are unpaid.
Yeah, I don't know how you can cherry pick them, to be honest.
I kind of disagree with that. Out of all the brush pickups, there's only 5 on this sheet that had a small pile, that said they wouldn't have done it if they would have known. And the ones I've talked to, they said, yeah, they didn't read the newsletter, but they got the newsletter and they realized it was their fault. Most of these other issues were all just my neighbors, it's easy. So I think, dismissing everybody, I would be willing to forgive these 5, or, John, you picked them up by hand, didn't even use a machine, they were so small, right?
Right.
You know, I'd say those 5 are just courtesy of the DPW.
In charge, John?
Well, they can all call and thank John for,
I like donuts.
yeah.
And Jeff's willing to take the calls, right?
Mr. Chairman, the other thing we could do is do a revised list for the next board meeting on recommended voided invoices and/or duplicate payments, so that this is kind of an overall overview of the 133 pickups that we did do. So if that would be more helpful to the town board, we gave you an overall of what all happened. Now we can whittle it down to the people that is a duplicate payment and/or didn't ask for the service. So you could make a clean motion based on the documentation at the next board meeting, if that would help.
You might even get a few more in the next week, here too, so I'd be willing to table it till next town board meeting and see a
Yeah,
cleaned up list.
We have a meeting next week. Supervisor
Table it.
Dashik.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We did not budget any money for income of the brush pickup, and I think enough people have been confused and charged improperly, and we've upset them. I think all of the brush pickup money should be refunded.
Okay, further, Supervisor Wiley, do you have any?
Well, I like Jeff's idea that we have a list of, it's a small list of individuals who basically either were confused in regard to the pickup, or like my neighbor, one paid for it, but they combined the brush pile on a neighbor that didn't get charged for it, so those things can be readjusted, I think. And I think Karen's idea of printing out a spreadsheet, you know, I don't wanna just throw the baby out with the bathwater, just for the sake of for a few people that probably, it could have been easily resolved if they would have known about what was going on. So I would just as soon just defer, table this until the next meeting and then proceed from there.
Okay,
If
so,
we have to refund it, we have to refund it, but I don't think we should rush into it right now.
so do we have a motion to table until next board meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Is
I'll
there a
second it.
second? Further discussion on the motion to table to next board meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1. Okay, so next board meeting, we will have an updated spreadsheet, and on my count, I had 5 prepaid but not billed, 5 people with small brush piles, and 6 billed the wrong address, and there's a couple more to be added, and another one on the phone, and we'll see what comes in, and we'll have a decision next week, I hope, one way or the other.
Mr. Chairman, do you want us still? We are holding the checks. We did not deposit any of the checks that came
Well-
in. Do you want us to still hold it another week?
Well, yeah, I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea. With the discussion, we have 2 supervisors think maybe we should refund the whole amounts, the 2 that didn't, and
Yeah.
see where and
Yeah.
it's been tabled. So let's say hold it for a week. Consensus, we don't need a motion for that. No. Okay. Number 8, correspondence and announcements. And reports, I suppose. We'll start with town board.
No, the
Supervisor.
only correspondence I had with, a lot of people called about the brush pickup, and most of them were all very understanding and easy to deal with. Even had one resident suggest to have a brush drop-off site, and she was happy to hear that we're gonna have that this fall. That's all I had for the last couple weeks.
Supervisor Wildy.
Yeah, I did have calls in regard to the brush pickup, and I told the people to hold off on paying until such a time as what we just decided to do, to review the bills and the individuals that have complained. And I see the ones that did call me are on this list, at least three out of the 4 that called me are on the list. And also, I wanted to make mention too of, appreciate the comments by the public this evening. I personally was upset at the last meeting, and I know we can't say anything at that time, but I was not happy with the comments that were made, and I appreciate the comments that were made tonight. That's all.
Supervisor Moline.
I had several calls also for the brush pickup. If I'm understanding this correctly, this list is all the people that have not paid yet, correct? That's what it says on top.
Are you looking at
The
invoices?
handwritten, Karen?
No, that's every resident that the DPW department stopped to pick up.
That was John's
That's
list.
John's list.
The
Right.
typed.
But
the
we
typed-
have not been paid for those people.
No. The typed lists that you see are all the invoices that went out. So at the next town board meeting, we're gonna get you a revised list based on the overall.
Okay, so they've been invoiced, but have we received checks on any bills?
24.
24 out of the whole batch.
24, and then there were about 15 prepaid.
Okay. Just to get an idea of the numbers, I wanted to see where we're at. Thank you. That's all I have. Obviously, I was a little disturbed by the comments last time, especially knowing where they came from. It's annoying, and I hope it stops. We talked about friendly meetings. Let's start them. It'd be nice to do. That's all I have to say.
Supervisor Dashik.
I also received some calls on the brush pickup, and I also was told that the residents do enjoy that service. And I think the fact that so few people participated in the paid brush pickup makes a statement. that they do not want to pay for this service. They want it to be a service that the town provides, like any other service that the town provides, like parks and schools. Everyone pays for it in their taxes, and we don't all use all of those services. But this should be budgeted for in our taxes.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Chairman's comments, we made mention earlier about the citizens who called about brush pickup. I've had emails from a citizen, which I think we will try to get this on the agenda, explaining, because I think it's useful, explaining closed sessions and the reasons why we go in, and just so everybody's clear on that. I've been getting an email and other comments about that. Why are there so many closed sessions? What's the purpose and that kind of thing? And perhaps a little discussion item, no action needs to be taken on a future meeting to go through closed versus open session would be helpful. Otherwise, I hope everyone had a safe and enjoyable 4th of July weekend, and we've got a back-to-town business this week and next. Should we go to DPW?
I guess you all know that we've started our paving yesterday on Carroll Drive, and they completed that also yesterday. They started on Maple Avenue today, and they will do the finished top coat tomorrow. So Maple Avenue will be closed tomorrow, probably, I guess, until like 5:30, just to allow them to get their work done without any problems there. So, we did have quite a bit of undercutting, which is soft spots on Carroll Drive, which took a couple days last week. With the storm damage that we had from the storms, it was a very hectic week with that. But a lot of those soft spots are created from sump pumps pumping into the ditches. Everywhere a sump pump goes out into the ditch, under the road, there's a mushy soft spot. You know, and all these people are complaining to me that they can't mow their ditches or whatever. Well, they're, you know, every single spot where we had to cut underneath the road there was a sump pump pumping water right there. So it's pretty evident what's going on there, but, and then they're gonna complain that they can't mow their ditches, but that's just, I don't know where else the sump pump can go. I mean, that's just part of the way it's set up, but, so that was quite a bit more than what we had anticipated over there, as undercutting that road. It was quite a project there. Right now, we're in the middle of, or just started a culvert replacement on Mount Whitney and Mount Rainier that was failing since last year. I have quite a bit of ditching that we need to do as far as cleaning ditches out and stuff, but it's just been too wet to do that. So hopefully this next 2-3 weeks here, we can start on a ditching list and start getting that list a little shortened. So, and I'm still looking for a mechanic / road maintenance person. I've got a few applications, but it's just nothing that we are looking for as of right now. So still taking applications for that.
John, do you know when they plan on closing Maple Avenue in the morning?
Well, this morning they started at 8 o'clock, so I think they start hauling asphalt around 8, so I would assume like 7:30, 8 o'clock. They said, today I left it, barricade up until 5:30, or almost before 6 when I came here, but they said it would be done about 5:30, so I'm assuming weather permitting, it's gonna go about the same amount of time as, what they did today, so. And then, after, as far as shouldering, I know I already got a phone call on Carroll Drive, there's a lip on their driveway. Well, we'll come and put gravel on the driveways and re-shoulder all the shoulders. We can't really do that till that asphalt is set up. We usually wait 2-3 weeks for that stuff to really set up and harden, because we take the grader and shoulder it with the grader, so it's gotta be pretty hard for that to work on it, so without digging into it, so.
Right, you don't want to ruin the new road.
No, so just to let people know, we will be shouldering it, but it's gonna usually take 2 or 3 weeks to stiffen up.
Question. What's the news on Center Drive? With all the rain we got, I'm afraid we're gonna lose a road here pretty soon.
The engineer was working on a drawing for that. He had a drawing that I told him you need to revise a couple things. He was gonna give me a copy of it to bring to you guys to take a look at. That was the last I heard.
Time-wise, nothing?
No, he was trying to get it finished up, and I called him like a week and a half ago, and he said, yeah, we're just working on the finished drawing. So I was actually hoping to have it.
I
for this-
suggest another call. I mean,
Yeah.
go look at it.
I know,
The water's just,
yeah.
pretty soon it's gonna go under the road, John.
I agree. I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Yeah.
Where's the worst spot in Center Drive on that, John?
It's up in the
Out
corner.
here?
No,
that way.
it's up on the hill.
Skyline.
Oh,
Skyline
Skyline
and
up
Center.
there, okay.
That is,
corner?
the whole guardrail on the
Well,
west
there's a
side.
bad spot over here, too.
Is there another one?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah. This whole bank is gonna give way pretty soon here.
Where do you see the quote on this one?
All right.
Yeah, don't drive too close to the edge.
Right.
Since I'm taking the long way tomorrow morning into the town hall,
Yeah.
apparently.
To McGonagall.
A good idea.
Clerk treasurer, Johnny, you're done? Yes. I assume so. Clerk treasurer report?
Mr. Chairman, I am passing this report out. The fire chief dropped off, many of you that were on the board remember the Smokey the Bear incident when Smokey the Bear was stolen from the fire department, and the chief has submitted all the reports from the sheriff's department and would like at some point to talk to the board about this. He's very angry and upset about this issue, so I promised him that I would bring this report to you, and Mr. Chairman, wherever you feel it's appropriate with the chief to talk about this. Also received an email in regards to the questions on closed sessions. I copied the town board in regards to my response to the resident, having an understanding of what the closed session means. Also had a great phone conversation with the village president, Village of Big Bend president, and was extremely pleased. I copied the board on his email today and was copied that to the Heather Ridge people who go past the Cajun property all the time. He also is sending reports in regards to what's happening on that site, which I greatly appreciate. And Warren did say that things that are happening in the village, he's going to copy, and I'll reciprocate also, so that there's a good communication flow between the village and the town. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, I just want to let you know that we're in the process also of completing the verification of signatures and hope to have that ready for the town board, for the next town board meeting. That's it. And as soon as it's verified, we'll put that all up on the website.
Okay. On the Cation property, I do get complaints about that. I forgot to mention them in they've calmed down, I must say. Fewer complaints.
Yes.
What's up on the website? Can
Well,
we
the website,
provide an update on the website? of
Yeah,
what's
on the
been going on?
website, Brooke Robinson is the DNR agent that handles those calls, and she encouraged anyone at any time to call her in regards to their complaints. I also, I'm sure that you see when I email our county board, our 3 county board supervisors that represent the town of Vernon, and also the gun club, which is right next to the property, that some of their ponds are adjacent to. So any emails I get from the village and/or Robin Faust, who works for Mr. Cation also, had called and said that they're, trying to do everything in their power to minimize what's happening. Mr. Cation has closed down the property twice when there's been a lot of rain so that the trucks aren't coming in and out. And I did tell Ms. Faust that if there's anything that he can do to minimize not only the mud, the dust, that would be greatly appreciated. Because even though it's not in the town, people come and call
Right.
us all the time.
Well, our residents drive down National Avenue ES on a regular basis. That's it? Okay. Finances. Accounts payable.
If I make a comment, I like the old format better.
Yeah, that was. Did you have that?
Well, we got both formats, right? This and this.
This was landscape. But
It's
the
really
detail
important.
is there.
Yeah, but you know, you look at this, it's pretty obvious. It balances all the way through. There's nothing where invoice is short of payment or payment short of invoice. It's equal numbers all the way. If there was a mistake, I'd say, yeah, I'd like to look at it, but if everything's accurate across this, we don't need that detail.
Yeah, right, the only, to me, the
Save a
only
tree.
difference, the only difference is if there's several invoices, this has a breakdown and
Yeah,
easier to
with the
check out.
doubles, see.
Right.
But you could find them on here too.
Right.
This was, we had to recapture a different type of report
Yeah.
for this. It'll be, your next APs will have that report that you used.
It was not a problem. I mean, this alone is good to work with as long as you got the invoice copies.
Right, right.
Till you get multiple invoices.
Yeah, but, you know, even though it jumped around a little, it was still, you're fine.
Right.
I charge extra for that.
I don't like doing the math again.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve batch 20190709, the amount of $27,516.42.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous voice vote. Manual checks, I don't think there were any. No manual checks. Approval of town board minutes. We have a joint plan commission and town board minutes, June 12, 2019. The only thing I saw, Madam Clerk, was highlighted in one of these too. On, excuse me, on page 2, number 6, second paragraph, the word "is" in the middle of that paragraph. It's a grammatical thing. Chair, it says Chairman Carl Fortner asked Sean Millard, that paragraph. In the third line, it says, and proposed changes to the proposed amendment is intended, that are intended, is didn't make much sense to me, but. Just change the word "is" to "that," the words "that are intended."
Okay.
Any other comments?
I couldn't hear what you were saying, Carl. Did you catch the one on page 2 with the word "is"?
Yep, that's what we
Okay.
just talked about.
Yes.
It made sense to me, instead of "is," say
Yeah.
"that are."
Yeah.
Or
It's
are.
a-
Yeah, just a little grammatical thing.
There it is. You can highlight it.
Yeah, you highlighted it even.
I didn't change it, sorry.
Did you have trouble with going into, what was it, page 4? Item I, we talked about no more than 300 attendees per event. And then down in P, we talk about parking stalls for 3 occupants based on maximum capacity. Do we really want both those in there, or do we want to wait and see what the fire codes and everything is?
This is what was This is what was discussed and presented at the meeting. This is not the approval of that.
Okay.
That's coming tomorrow night, and the chairman is going to do a commercial for town board members to possibly attend this, because you're going to make a decision on this, and it is not a notice joint meeting, but if you come to the meeting tomorrow night, you're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Okay, I just wanted to mention it because I don't know if I can make the meeting tomorrow night. And it read funny when I read it because it seems redundant in one case, but can lock you into different things with the two different numbers. Three
Right.
per or 300.
Right, and we also say in I that has to be in compliance with all federal, state, and local fire and building code regulations. We also
Which may
say,
restrict it even deeper, so.
which it might,
We could end up with
in other
three.
words, it might not be 300, it might be 200,
I
depends
know.
on the building.
That's why I say this is kind of, and I just mentioned it for
Well, I think,
conversation.
yeah, right, I think, Sean would say, well, whatever it is, whether it's 300, could be 200, could be 100, your parking is gonna be based on capacity.
Availability.
As opposed to, 100 parking spots. Well, if you only can take 100 people, well, you don't need 100 parking spots.
Yeah.
But,
And I think too, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Moline, this is kind of standard planner language as it relates to,
Is
you
that
know, not,
boilerplate?
you know, some people come together, some people, couples come together, so it's like a standard boilerplate. And I can tell you, out of all the commercial businesses we have in Vernon, I've never seen anybody go out and check the number of stalls for the business owners.
Employees and,
well,
But you could bring it up tomorrow.
well, yeah, it'll be a plan commission item tomorrow. I was also gonna mention in W, it talks about the fire
again,
department, so.
I'm not sure I'm making it, I just wanted to bring it up.
Right.
Because it jumped out as three different things there, and I was wondering, are
Right.
they in sync?
Yeah, they should be, but we're gonna go over that in detail,
Thank you.
tomorrow, and hopefully if you can't attend, at least watch a, tape delay of it.
Sounds good. Did we approve it?
That's it.
Yeah, motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve it with that one change.
Is to that,
Yeah, to that R,
paragraph?
second paragraph on page 2, the June 12th joint town board and plan commission minutes, sorry. Is there a second?
I'll second
Any further discussion? All in favor?
it.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous. Oops, that's the same one.
Yeah.
Now we are on June 20, town board minutes.
Karen, under Carol Cody's comments, third line down. Nurses, generals, no, generally, I think is what it was supposed to say. Generally do good service.
No, she mentioned general in the service. Did you
No,
listen to
it's-
her comments?
Okay.
Karen, on page, I think this is highlighted too, although this is a black and white copy. Page 5 of 6. See, the last, it looks like it's highlighted on mine. Chairman Carl Fortner assured the town board that all the discussion regarding the town attorney memorandum are shared. I think there might be, are shared forwarded to the town board. That I didn't follow that sentence quite frankly, but, yeah, I think that all the discussion, we did talk about this, the board, that all the discussion regarding the town attorney memorandum
Are shared with town board.
or is forwarded to the town board. It's in his memo, is forwarded to the town board. How about that?
Karen, 6B, if we may. Well, we had the discussion about Big Ben. One of the questions that was qualified there was, we wanted to know where the request came from. If it was the complete board or an individual. There's nothing about that in there that I read. So we really didn't want to proceed until we knew it was the board we were talking to, and not just one of the supervisors or whatever they call it. I'm sorry?
There was an actual motion made in regards to that discussion
And it didn't include that.
in your motion?
Yeah.
Can we table this, Mr. Chairman, so I can listen to that?
Is it
Oh, sure.
correctable? Because it's kind of important, I think, that we make sure that we're talking with the board, not an individual.
Yeah, I thought we did
We said it, but
said that,
it
yeah.
But it
didn't get
wasn't-
included in the motion.
It wasn't part of
because
the motion.
There was quite a bit of conversation on that, as I
Well,
recall.
and as the attorney indicated, that's why the town board discussed the information that was in the packet presented at the board. We don't list every single item that you talk about in the minutes,
But we try to hit the key points, right?
not in the minutes. I mean, the attorney wants them to be
Okay.
general, from a general standpoint. If somebody wants specifics, he encourages them to listen.
Yeah.
But if you want, we can table it so I can listen to the, double check that.
No, I think everybody here is familiar with what we were doing. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
We're all
I
of the
hope so.
understanding. We didn't want to go with one individual making that request. We wanted to make sure it was a board, so we didn't stumble on this one and waste time.
That was the question at the time. We weren't sure.
Right.
Right. And
I
we
think
did
the
discuss that
Has
point.
it been,
And the motion was more to see, for you to
Yeah.
contact to see where they're,
See what it was,
Yeah.
right.
And subsequent to the one trustee calling, the village president had already contacted. I don't know if the chairman had a conversation with the village president.
Since
But-
this meeting I have, which
Yes.
we'll go through, but
so do we know, was the whole board involved in that request, or we
Not
don't
to my
know yet?
knowledge.
Okay.
I couldn't find it. I did look at their agendas, and I couldn't find it on any of their agendas, but it might be in a committee too.
As long as we're all on the same page, I don't have a problem with it.
Would you feel more comfortable if I added a line the town board discussed if the request came from the village board and/or a trustee? Would that help? Would that make you feel better?
Clarification, I think, is kind of nice. I don't know that it's critical.
sure, you could,
Add a line in the discussion?
yeah, you could add a line under the discussion that the request came in from, via email, I suppose, from trustee
Was a
so-and-
phone call.
Or it was a
from-
phone call? Okay,
From a trustee. I won't identify. the
okay,
person.
from a trustee and the discussion.
The
And
board
the
was
town board
concerned.
had a discussion on whether it was the full board or an individual trustee.
Great. I'll add that
How
line
about
to
that?
the discussion.
Great, thanks.
Right. So we should
Page
table
4.
this, or are you gonna add it now, or for approval, or
Whatever you want. I
So
can,
we'll approve it with that
with that,
correction?
with
or
that
addition?
correction,
with the addition?
with the
And the
addition,
one correction.
and the one correction, and the only other thing I noticed,
I got a hand in this.
and maybe this was just a flat-out mistake, but 12F, the Waukesha County Towns Association County Unit Meeting, I believe is July 24. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Karen,
So
back a
fix
page
that correction, no big deal.
on 7O, I guess it is.
Yeah, we just talked about that and
You
corrected
did,
that.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing everything here tonight. So you got the word "and" in front of forward?
It's going to read, Chairman Carl Fortner assured the board that all the discussion regarding the town board's memorandum is forwarded to the town board.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion?
Motion? I'll make a
Motion?
motion to approve the June 20th, 2019 supervisors meeting minutes with the corrections as noted. Do we need to find them? Two
No, corrections and
corrected?
addition.
Corrections and additions?
And additions.
Friendly? It's,
Yes.
I think you said June 19th, June 20.
Oh, did I have the wrong date? Right, 20th. Did I say that?
You said 19, but that's,
That's the date.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, unanimous. Next meeting dates. I'll read them.
Go ahead.
I'll read them. Board of Review, tomorrow, it's the meeting that was previously adjourned, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Plan Commission, tomorrow evening, starting at 6:30 PM. And on that agenda includes the subdivision up off of Double X, as well as 2 other CSMs, and also the event barn conditional, unspecified conditional use request, and a bed and breakfast request, same person, same property owner, also conditional use. It's a plan commission meeting, but those items are headed, all of those items, I guess, are headed for the town board. So obviously, welcome to come. It's been, noticed that there might be a quorum of the town board, so it's going to be a valid meeting notice. If you can't come, listen to it, on YouTube, because we're going to take up these items next week, probably, at the town board. And if you can come, obviously, you're part of the public, ask questions. And there's 2 public hearings. Next week, town board, Thursday, July 18th, 6:30. We have a town staff meeting, July 25th, 1 o'clock. And the Waukesha County Unit Towns Association meeting, July 24, Town of Genesee, 6:30.
Can you make a comment on this?
This
Because I
is-
saw you were back and forth, feeling we didn't really need this.
Right.
And I'm in total agreement. I mean, this is boilerplate. Why are we paying for this every time?
Well, and that's why, on this one,
That-
we tried to short-circuit it, but we were on the attorney call for the Plan Commission and Board of Review this morning, and so this was
Snuck it
just,
in?
yeah, it was,
I
it was,
agreed with you.
it was
This
very
is-
short, let me tell you.
Right.
Because it was a cut and paste on the boilerplate. I don't know if it took more than 5 minutes.
You know what legal fees are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And-
Okay, thank you.
And that's why we were trying to short-circuit it.
No, I thought you were right on the money with that one.
Right,
Yeah.
and, we have an attorney tomorrow here for the Board of Review because of the
Okay.
the Board of Review tomorrow morning. And, okay. Public comments. We're on number 13. We had public comments earlier. Any further public comments? Okay, no further public comments. Number 14, motion to go into closed session. Consideration and possible action on a motion to convene into executive session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 deliberating of negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, more specifically, negotiations for boundary border agreements with the town of Waukesha, Village of Big Bend, and the cities of Muskego and New Berlin, and contracted services with the Village of Big Bend. Included in the closed session will be the Vernon Town Board of Supervisors, DPW Director, and Town Clerk Treasurer. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. And we have a roll call vote.
Chairman Carl Fortner,
Yes.
Supervisor Jeff Millies.
Yes.
Supervisor Gary Wildy.
Yes.
Supervisor Ed Moline.
Yes.
Supervisor Lorene Dashick.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, note for the record that your town board by voice vote voted to go into closed session at 7:38.
Okay,
6.
7.
Seven.
We'll take a short recess, 5 minutes. Yeah, for that mile.
Sorry.
It's pretty good by the bridge here.